In this video, we are going to go over some of the basics of setting Motion Composer characters and using the scenario graph to set up your simulation. So firstly, let's go to the content browser to enable the plugin content. So here on the content browser, and it might be in a different location in your Unreal Engine, we will go to the bottom right where under View Options, there's Show Plugin Content. Once you do that, then the motion flow content along with the full body IK plugin content should be visible. So then under the motion flow content, under Characters Mannequin Blueprints, that's where the MCAI character is placed, and we can drag and drop that into the world. Another way of accessing that character is by pressing Ctrl P on your keyboard and typing MCAI character. So now we're going to select this, drag and drop this, and place him over here. So in this tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to make him pick something up from here, this table, and maybe perform some action over, let's say here, and then place it over here after he's done. So we'll make him pick up a drill, perform a drill action, and then place it over here. So in order to do that, we need to first set up a task in the world that this character is going to perform. So let's say the drill is going to be placed on this table. So in order to do that, we are going to select this table, and in the details panel, going to select add component, and I'm going to type MC task. So if I select that, then you are presented with certain options here. So let's first look at the task performance. So there are three types of task performances in Motion Composer. Perform generic is an action type task. For example, if you want to perform a drill action, if you want to use a screwdriver, if you want to use a laser scanner, all those are perform generic actions. In this case, we first want him to pick up the drill from the table. So we're going to do perform pick. And notice that this is annotating the world. We're not setting up the simulation yet. We are simulating what actions are available in the world. So here, under now, there are more options that are presented once you choose perform pickup. So we're going to choose pickup what, which is the next option, item type. So we're going to type drill, which is an example inventory item that we provide. Creating your own inventory item is also possible, and we'll show that in a different tutorial. But right now, let's use one of the example inventory items, which is the drill here. And the other choices we're going to leave as is. They are usually okay to leave as is, and now we will go into more in-depth in a more advanced tutorial. So what I'm going to do next is actually going to place the drill appropriately. So now if you go zoom in here, you'll see that the drill is actually placed at the origin of this table. So that's the location here, 0, 0, 0, rotation is 0, 0, 0. So we want the drill to be placed on top of the table. So you simply drag and place it over here, and then I'm going to rotate it so it feels like it is lying on the table. So I'm going to press E on my keyboard, and I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to just for visual purposes make it so that the handle of the drill is pointing towards the character. So now you'll notice that there's this arrow which is also pointing towards the drill, and that's the direction where the character is going to approach from. So in this case, we want the character to approach over here. So we're going to select this arrow, and then since we are already in rotate mode, we're going to rotate it and make it point towards here. So you can also move it. So if you want the character to kind of reach from further away, then you can move it away. And sometimes that is necessary. For example, if you don't want the character to kind of get on the tables, and then you kind of want the arrow to be further away. So in this case, I'll leave it here. And then as you see in the text pop up here or the text description here, if you press escape, then you'll exit out of the arrow editing component. So now we have set up this task of pickup drill. So the next thing we are going to do is make a place where the character is going to perform a drill action. Now we can do that anywhere we want. So let's say we want to drill on this pillar. So I'm going to actually create a copy of it here, and then I'm going to do the same thing, add component. I'm going to type task to select that, and then this time we'll do perform generic because we want the character to perform an action. So what action? So we provide a series of actions. So we'll type drill, and the item type. What do you want to drill with? So this is the inventory item again. And so in this case, we want it to be the same as the inventory item here. So I'm going to type drill and choose that same inventory item I chose for pickup task over there. And that will create a task over here, which is down here. So I'm going to, again, move it in a place where I want him to drill. Let's say here, again, rotate the drill to point in a direction I want him to drill. And again, click on the arrow and make it point towards the direction I want the character to be approaching this task from. And then lastly, I want the character to place the drill back here when he's done, or you can even make him place it back there. It doesn't matter, but let's make him place here in this example. So I'm going to do add component again, task, perform type, and this time we'll choose put down. So we are presented with similar but slightly different options than pickup. So we're going to specify what is the item type. In this case, it is drill. Again, so the drill example inventory item. And again, we're going to move it by pressing W. Bring it closer, rotate it so that, well, this rotation is fine in this axis, but I'm going to rotate it so that it's placed onto the table. I'm going to move it up just slightly over here, and then I'm going to select the arrow and rotate it, and I'll press escape to exit out of that editing mode. So now we have annotated the world. So this way you can annotate the world with your task that you want the character to perform. The next thing to do is to actually create a simulation that will perform these actions, because you can have pre-populated setups. For example, you could now, like this table, you could convert it to a blueprint. So you can just save it out, and then that becomes a workstation or a workstation blueprint. And then you can just place that anywhere you want. So you can have pre-configured workstations this way. But I'm not going to do that right now. What we're going to do next is actually going to create a simulation blueprint or scenario blueprint. So I'm just going to go I'm going to create in the content folder of my project, I'm going to create a tutorial folder here for us to work out of. And then I'm going to create, I'm going to right click in the content browser, and then I'm going to choose Motion Composer Scenario Blueprint. And I'm going to call it Tutorial Scenario Blueprint. So I'll press enter, or you can double click on it to open it, and you're presented with this blueprint editor for the scenario blueprint. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a perform task action. So under Motion Composer, perform task. And so this is how you kind of create different tasks. And there are different nodes that we're going to get into different other tutorials. But for now, let's keep it simple. Let's make 3 perform tasks. One of them, pick up this drill. Next, perform this drill. And third, place this drill on this table. So let's configure this first node. So this character, let's rename him. It's useful to name characters and your tasks appropriately so that you can find them later easily. So that's always a good practice to do that. Let's call him worker1 or W01. And then let's instead of calling this smrag table, we'll call it workstation01. Workstation, let's call it WS01. And let's call it WS02. And let's call it WS03. Or you could even, if these are specific to a particular worker, you could even use a naming scheme, something like W01, WS01. So that is for worker 1, this is workstation 1. For worker 1, this is workstation 2. But you might be sharing workstations between workers, so be careful with that kind of naming scheme. But in this tutorial, for this purpose, we are going to use it exclusively for worker 1. So perhaps it makes more sense to organize it in this fashion. Again, those names are completely up to you. The system doesn't require that. This is just a way to keep things clean. So under now the perform task details panel here under worker, I'm going to go and select worker 1. Now this is where the naming helps. So we know that we want worker 1 here, and workstation. Again, we know we want a workstation. We were naming our workstations with WS. So we want the first workstation to be used here. And then over here, like it is presented with the task here. So what we forgot to do is actually name those. So this will continue to work. Like we can call it, we can choose this. This will perform the action appropriately. But in the process of trying to name this correctly, we're going to do pickup drill, and then the next task we're going to do perform drill, and then the third task we're going to do is put down drill. So now if you hit compile here, that should repopulate to pickup drill over here. So now it is possible for us to just duplicate this node. And now we want the worker workstation 2 to be selected for this node. And notice that worker 1 was already selected. And when you select workstation 2, it automatically changed to perform drill because that is the only task component on that workstation. And then the third action we want him to do is on the workstation 3. So we are going to duplicate this node. Again, these are all pre-populated from our duplication. Now we're just going to select workstation 3, and that automatically changed to put down drill. If there are multiple components, then you probably want to select a separate component over here, or an appropriate component. So now we have these 3 nodes. We're going to now create a sequence. And then the way you do that is by connecting the execution pins. So here, once we are done performing pickup drill, we want him to do perform drill. So we're going to drag this execution pin from here into the input node here, or into the input execution pin. And similarly for this, from the perform drill to put down drill. So now if you were to hit compile, the one more thing that we need to do is to place this into the world, because this is an actor that needs to be present in this level. So if you compile here, we are getting some warnings. So we have not specified the class default or a level in the class defaults. So let's do that. We're going to do edit class settings, the initial values over here by clicking this button. And in the level down here, we're going to select our current level, which is the empty demo map. And we're going to try to compile again. So that compiled successfully. We're going to press save. And if we were to hit play now, and if you have set up everything correctly, the character should perform a pickup, drill, and place here. And looks like we have the visualization for the character already enabled. So you can see that the character is performing the drill action. It is drawing the traces of the character onto the ground. And it is displaying the actions and displaying the timing of the task as well. So that's how you set up a basic simulation using Motion Composer and scenario graphs. We will look at some more advanced concepts in the next tutorial. Thank you.